Peasant Productions presents the Math of ESP, why it works if you don't believe in it. As I'm doing here, I'm kind of discussing the process of thinking, okay, and how it relates to stuff. Part 8, I put that one up there, and I was discussing a variety of things and all of that. And one of the things that I ran back over here and tried to do a real quick little piece, but it was too short to fit in the little bit of extra that I could have added on to that other video. So I had this little three-minute piece about how currency, fiat currency in the world right now is everywhere and doing all kinds of stuff, and it's really quite amusing to watch. There, of course, is all these people that think the United States dollar is the most solid piece of money possible. And the reality, of course, is that it's not. It's been a fiat currency since 1970. Actually, it's been a fiat currency since the 1958 removal of it from the gold standard. You no longer had, this is pick up a piece of U.S. currency, 1957 and before, it said you could take it in and exchange it for gold or silver. 1958, everything began being printed with the lack of that on there. It just simply says that this piece of paper is legal to use for tender in all business exchanges. I think it stops at saying it's to use for tender. But when you stop and think about money as a general whole, everywhere, anywhere, any kind, it does not matter what it is. If everybody decided that this little bouncy ball here was legal tender to use as money and nothing else, okay? A lot of kids would be very happy and very pissed at the same time. This would be money, okay? This would be worth something of value, okay? You would then have to determine what the value is and how to equate that to something and spread it out, okay? Gold is a standard. Why? Because kings and queens and people with big egos like to adorn themselves with gold. It's a very pretty metal. It is a very soft metal, which means you can bend it and form it and make it very flat and do all kinds of stuff with it. The same goes for silver. Okay. Now, silver tarnishes, gold does not. Therefore, gold is more valuable because you don't have to have a bunch of slaves constantly polishing your gold jewelry. You do have to have your silver protected, wrapped, polished, endless hours of work and stuff for silver, okay? But that is why those two things are there, okay? De Beer diamonds. De Beer put a big, huge process of advertising together to tell you that that little piece of rock was extremely valuable because they had the only ones. They only came from Africa. Okay, if you check geology, you will find that diamonds are found around the world. There are diamond mines in China, United States. I have actually talked to people that have found diamonds in California. I did gold mining for a while, so I actually talked to miners and know something about what comes out of the ground. It is simply that humans have decided that it's worth something. Now, stop and ask yourself, first off, how many bites am I going to get out of this? Secondly, how much nutrition is in this, okay? The same goes for your diamond. The same goes for your gold. The same goes for your silver. What is really valuable? Food is valuable. Water is valuable. Okay? Air all around you is valuable. Okay? It is necessary for you to live, to have food, water, air. It also helps to have a shelter. Okay? So you had to have something that could be passed back and forth, and hence money was created. All right? Seashells, rocks, jewelry, feathers, gold, silver, diamonds, emeralds, whatever is valuable becomes a commodifiable product if it is small enough to actually do something with. Well, that's where, like I said, fiat currency comes around, is that if you have a piece of paper printed by a government or a corporation, which governments or corporations, go check the stock exchange and you'll find them listed. Articles of Incorporation, United States Government, 1775. The actions therein, okay, of creating something to pay people with is necessary. So everybody goes around using money, and it is very viable, it is very logical, it is, very, very much smarter to have and do. Well, the United States currency is fiat currency. It's debunked. In every country in history for somewhere around 3,000 to 5,000 years that has ever used fiat currency has collapsed and failed, no matter how big the empire. Okay? Rome collapsed because it used fiat currency. Spain collapsed because it used fiat currency. The British Empire collapsed because it used fiat currency. The people at the bottom who have to buy food eventually get pissed off about the fact that they're being given something quite worthless. Okay, so this is where thinking for yourself comes in. What do you have to actually use as a brain to think with is quite important. More so because you're actually thinking with it than whether you are a 100 IQ or a 500 IQ. Okay? I have seen quite a few dumbasses running around bragging about how they're 180, 186 IQ, and they don't use any ability to really think about what they're doing or what they're saying. So when something like a financial crisis happens, they don't have any ability to do anything. It's like I pointed out with knowing 2 or 3 languages is cool. And you can usually get a job and get extra money because you can speak 2 or 3 languages. Knowing 7 or 8 languages really doesn't do a whole lot for most of the masses. You simply have spent a lot of time doing nothing, learning nothing, and filling your brain full of something you can't use. If you are like me and you absorb all kinds of data and information, you can do all kinds of different things. I can fix my own computers. I have opened up now several of my cameras and lenses and fixed them. I don't have schematics, I don't have diagrams, I don't have rule books, I never took any college courses, but I got a over $2,000 invested lens that I have opened up, gone inside, looked at it, figured out what was broken about it, repaired it, gone out, shot with it, had it stop working, come back, look at it, realized my repair job was still there, but there was still something wrong. Changed my repair job just slightly, and it's now back working again. The same thing with my computer. I walked in, realized that when I spilled coffee on it, I fried something on the motherboard itself, the very heart of my computer, and it was in very bad shape, and I did something to fix it to create a situation that 18, 19 months later, I'm still using it every day. Every day. 16, 18 hours a day. Okay? That's the difference between being intelligent and using your brain to think. You can walk up to something, look at it, examine it, think about it, and figure out where to go with it. So the money supply collapsing, and when you stop and actually go out like I do and use 100 or 200 news sources, you're not just a fox an NBC, a CBS, but you actually watch all kinds of different news sources, and you chase all kinds of different data around to see where they lead, okay, you end up having the ability to really actually think for yourself. And you have the ability to realize that if the United States is collapsing, China is in the middle of a huge bubble that is exactly what has caused the collapses in the United States the past, 35, 40 years. And they are literally in a worse position because most of their money is backed by U.S. money. So when the U.S. collapses, China's system collapses because the U.S. collapsed, and because China's system is built on the same rules as the U.S. system, so the Chinese system will collapse in on itself too. The Russians are building the same system and using the same system. Everybody, everywhere, whether it's South America, Latin America, South America, Europe, almost everybody on the planet uses the same type of system, to the point that even now, I had made a comment about Bitcoin, and I'm just now listening to one of my people on Bitcoin, and he's pointing out that Bitcoin has changed from what it was originally created to be into something that is more like what everyday use is. So when you have the ability to stop and understand everything and look at everything and see where it's all going, then you're intelligent. Then you're able to think for yourself. Then you don't need to have somebody like me tell you to plug X into Z and get Y. You simply sit there and go out there and look at what's happening and look at what's around and look at what's available for whatever the topic is you need to learn about, and you do so. My son does not learn to be dependent on running to daddy for everything. My son learns to be dependent on himself, to use his own brain, to think for himself. Okay? No girlfriend of mine has ever been taught to be dependent on me. No, even my ex-wife, if she had ever listened to me and paid attention, she would have been a much better person for herself and where she wanted to go in life. I have rescued about a dozen or more people literally out of abusive relationships. Not a one of them ever became my relationship. Okay? They were taught to go out, how to deal with life, and fend for themselves. That's the difference. If you are something like a psychiatrist that wants somebody always there paying your bills, you teach them to be dependent on you. If you are somebody that wants to teach people to be better, like a Buddha or a Christ or even a Gandhi, you name it, there's a few thousand of them in your history books. You don't teach dependency, you teach how to think, how to act on your own, how to take care of yourself. Okay? So understand, I'm not teaching you what to think, folks. I'm showing you that not only am I an old man who has never had a friend that I can trust, I'm an old man that's still alive, and I'm teaching you how to survive just like I have. Okay? I want to teach you to think for yourself, not what to think.